Right. It is really hard to get people invested in your show, be around him, and like people would say, like, um, you raised me, wrongly assume that there's some sort of Satanist imagery in it, right? But it's just a black.
And welcome to another episode of the Convoluted Podcast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and today we have a special guest who actually reached out, and actually I'm a big fan of their podcast, so yay. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, my name is Elliott, Elliott Rose. I D&amp for What's Your Damage, D&D 5e podcast.
Cool. And thank you for reaching out. You are the second person to do that. I'm happy that it's happening now. Yay. But
yeah, well, it's a fun podcast.
Yes, it is, and I can vouch for that. It's a very entertaining. I enjoy your whole group. It's really fun to listen to.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Go ahead and kind of just then elaborate a little bit more about your show.
Okay. So What's Your Damage is about four adventurers who are in the world of Galea, a homebrew world. And I guess you could say this about a lot of D&D actual plays, but I think my group is especially uncouth. Specifically, the Mountain Boys, Burke and Gustus Goldhammer. They just get into a bunch of weird little side adventures. Plus, you have the tiefling rogue who isn't especially a rogue, Okot, and you have just the good guy who's trying to keep it all together, Jorix the cleric. And then you have me, the world and its problems, and you do a lot of prep for a D&D session if you're the GM or DM, and you just throw that all to the wind when you have those players. They always approach things very from an angle you couldn't predict, I would say.
Yeah, they throw you for a loop. I can listen to that, and it's interesting. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, there was that. I think the one that always got to me was and I don't know if you've heard this one, but it was when they went to this place called the Four Shadows, because I was foreshadowing big events later on, and they were gonna have to do this whole rigmarole about about figuring out what the password is to enter the cave, right? And Gustus the dwarf just randomly says the right answer. Just aloud. They didn't even look at any clues or anything. He just said the right answer. And that was a whole episode that I had planned. I was like, oh, I'm going to get these jerks, I'm finally going to get one over on them. And then he just goes oh, here's the answer. I'm like, how? I think Sadie actually kept in my annoyed screaming after that. But yeah, it's just one of the best. I love those guys.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. It's because so you're the third D&D style podcast that I listen to, and yes, so each of them you can tell that has a different flavor, not only from the cast but the way they run stuff. So it's interesting to kind of just get an idea. But it is always surprising to the game master or a dungeon master, because you're right, you never know what your crew will do to throw a wrench into something that you planned, and it can be very telling, mostly when you're doing this as a podcast, because you're trying to create content for your listeners, so that can be a little bit more nerve-wracking too. So it's something that some people don't understand, probably.
Yeah, I think you really hit on a really good a good note there. There is this idea, right? Because you are in effect saying "Hey, this is worth listening to." We've done 54 episodes, right? I think it's 54, and you don't want to just have like 54 hours of you guys like hanging out in a tavern. You're right. So it is this balance that you have to strike where you're like, okay, what is the heart of a story, right? There has to be conflict of some kind. It could be interpersonal or it could be external or, blah, blah, blah. And so as the DM, and like, I think I'm like kind of more of the show host, in a lot of ways because, I think I'm the one that does all the announcements and I natter on the most, because I'm world building, right? And it is just very interesting because the only thing that I can control is like the ideas, the planned conflicts, right? Like what are my players' goals and how can I try to thwart it? And then all of a sudden, like they'll just take a hard left turn. You're like, well, I didn't. That's a conflict, yes, but man, you're catching me with my pants down, so to speak, because I have no idea, right? Like there was like the end boss of an arc, and I was like, okay, show how powerful he is. Make sure that they know they can't mess with him at this moment. And then all of a sudden, Okot just throws a dagger at him. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill her so bad. Like I can't not kill her. I can't like. He just says, "Hey, you're fine," and then he walks away, right? And so it was a very difficult moment where I'm like, okay, I have to kill her because she hit him so hard. But then the crew just took him down. And I was just like, well, there goes the main villain of this arc. Cool, cool, cool. Gonna have to like Ryan noted that like he goes like, when we monkey things up, do you just like say I gotta go for a smoke to figure out what you're gonna do next? I was like, yep, that's exactly what I do. I was like, ha ha ha. Oh, you killed that boss, huh? Well, time for me to take a smoke. I'm not at all angry about this, you know.
Oh, that's a very interesting tell you have there. But
Yep.
oh wow, yeah, it's it's it can be very frustrating from what it sounds like. I myself have I think I've mentioned this multiple times on different shows that I've been on as well. It's been a goal of mine to do a story slash D&D style a role playing podcast to say
Oh,
the
that'd be marvelous.
um, but I know some of the troubles that it can get to, as you just mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, but here's my question to you is like because the next part when doing a D&D podcast is gathering the people together.
Hmm.
So who was the original initiator to decide on not only playing this campaign but turning it into a show?
Oh, so a little backstory. My friend, my partner in crime, Sadie, she and I had done an old show called Local Look, and then we had always kind of, and Local Look was a NPR satire because I don't know if you can tell, Jesus, but I have a very NPR adjacent voice, right?
It's
Um,
soothing, yes.
yeah. Oh, thank you. And so we wanted to do another project together, and then she said, "Oh, what about this campaign that my friend's running?" And it was a homebrew game, and so we were like, "Okay, sure." And so we went there, and it was, I think, in some ways, right, like playing just as friends and playing as a show are a little bit different in that when you're playing as just friends around a table and there's no show attached to it, you can just kind of be more loose, right? And if you're the GM, and what I mean by that is that he just rolls a couple of dice, he has like a adventure that wraps around, and then he's done, right? And then you go again and you do a new adventure, and so it's just like a series of one shots. Where I think a D&D podcast where I find like the most interest in is like seeing a character arc with these characters growing along the way, right? So we did that show, and then I was like, okay, I don't think we can keep doing this, because we had some temperamental disagreements between the GM and Sadie and me. And so I said, okay, what if GM'd? Why don't I try it? Because I GM'd for about for a good long while before this, and basically what I kept in mind when it came to like putting What's Your Damage's crew together is I was like, okay, I'm lucky in that I have been in the stand-up community for 7 years as a stand-up, and so I know a lot of funny people who are naturally engaging and who love to talk and initiate action, right? The difficulty that I may have is that I definitely need somebody to like keep a story, keep the threads that I'm laying down and like keep track of that. And so it was just monitoring, seeing like who works well together. Well, Parker and Ryan are a phenomenal pair, right? Gus and Burke. Like
Okay.
they're just
Okay. No, no, sorry. It's weird hearing them their like real names compared to their character names. So
oh, yeah, I know, right? Like I when we're sitting when we're at the table, like I'll sometimes just refer to when I'm trying to talk to Parker, I'll say Gus, right? Um, but Gus and Burke, they were in one of my campaigns. They were in my Wednesday campaign. I was like, these two are too funny to not have on a show, right? Because they're just so they always make me laugh. And then I have Sadie, and Sadie and I have a great natural rapport. And Sadie can kind of just interact with anybody, and she's just really good at initiating action because like her character is like a stab first, ask questions later type of person, which is good. You don't want someone who's overthinking everything, right? Because then no action happens. And then you have Chris who plays Jorix, and God bless him. Like whenever I feel like the rest of the group is kind of too far afield, like I'll just float an idea to Chris to like or Jorix to like get them together. Like when they sidetrack for too long, and I think Sadie will cut these out, but in the recordings, um, when they get into their, just goofing off bit, Jorix will be the one to say like off to Bartle or off to the adventure. He'll just like do a hard cut to get us to the next scene, which is so important for this group, and he's great at it.
interesting. That's something. Maybe that's something I should pay attention to. But yeah, that. Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, would you DM or would you be a player? What would you like to do?
So, as far as the show, I would be the game master. I've been working for the most part on a simple, basic world
Hmm.
and some game mechanics, and it's a very I'm gonna say all of them are unique in their own sense, but it's just gathering the people because it's it's more I've like this show I've mentioned multiple times before. This show this is its new form.
Hmm.
I used to this show used to be kind of a group of friends talking about the news of the week, and we kind of
Hmm.
just gave our thoughts and feelings of whatever the topic was. But it was always a scheduling issue trying to get together to talk about the current events, and then little by little people just fell off the show, and then it was just kind of me and one other person, but then we couldn't record. It fell apart. So
Right.
so like I said, the reason I mention is like when trying to do something of that caliber, uh, like you need people. So that's the thing I've been struggling is to try to find the people to do some. This would be a big project for the most part.
Right.
You guys have been running it for about 54 episodes. That is a reasonably good chunk of time. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, so I think like one of the benefits that we have is all of us, save Jorix or Chris, started in or we all got to know each other through the stand-up community. And if there's anything about being like a stand-up or doing stand-up, it's that you know that you just have to commit to this thing where you go to an open mic and you sign up 2 hours before the show starts, and then you wait the entire show, so like another hour and a half to 2.5 hours for 3 minutes of stage time, right? So there's not like a huge payoff, right? You wait 4 hours in total to get 3 minutes on stage, right? So I think people who do that have an ability to commit to things because no, there's very few things I think that are as patience testing, as listening to somebody's joke for the 70th time while you're waiting to go on stage, because you're just like, that joke was really funny the first time I heard it, but man, I cannot handle this again, right? But I'm gonna kill him with my 3 minutes of new avant-garde jazz comedy, and then you go on and like people are just like boo. You're like, well, cool. Be back tomorrow, But yeah, you're right. It is a really big time sink, and I think that's like true in most creative aspects, right? Or creative fields where you put an enormous amount of time into this thing, and if you want to do well at it, or have a shot of doing well at it, like you just got to keep practicing it, right? And like it can suck. Like, the first story I ever wrote, I read it recently, and I was like, this is dog shit. Like this is. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can swear,
Oh, no. Yeah,
but
you're more than welcome to speak your mind.
thanks. So, I read it and I'm like, this is total dog shit. And like, I can remember the 13-year-old me who's like, I'm pretty much a genius at writing, like I remember that kid. And like, I'm looking back, I'm like, you dumb kid. But like, I wouldn't have been a fairly good writer as I am now if I hadn't have made all of those dumb, terrible decisions I made as a 13-year-old writing. Like, and then this guy named Blade Darkmantle. He's gonna fight this. He's gonna fight Dark Bad Guy. Like, and I was like, I'm fucking gonna be the best. I'm gonna be the best adventure writer ever, right? So all of that is to say, I've said that like 3 times. You're right. It is really hard to get people invested in your show and to have them make a commitment to it and say like, hey, even if I'm having a shitty week, I'm on board, right?
Exactly.
Um, hmm?
No, exactly. I was agreeing.
Yeah, so I think you just have to find people who, I think the number one thing is you just all have to enjoy the process, right? You have to enjoy playing together first and foremost. Like, would I play with these guys if we didn't have a show? If so, okay, cool. We're on a first set. That's why I targeted, because I already knew them, and they enjoyed playing with me enough that they were willing to play with me for a year, and then we added the show, and they've been playing with me for near 3 years. So you just have to make it a process where everybody enjoys it and is willing to do this thing that might be an inconvenience time-wise, but is enjoyable in other aspects, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to put it is because at the end of the day, if it's not enjoyable for the people who are doing this, then it's not enjoyable to listen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course, you can have like moments where like people come into conflict, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But I think with actual plays in particular, like people just kind of want to hang out with people and listen to them have a good time and have a good time by proxy, right? Or
Yeah.
have a legitimate good time, but they have avatars in the players.
And I think when listening to your guys' show, it's like I can feel that not only the character dynamic, but the your guys' dynamic, and it just flows really well, and it's like just enjoyable to listen to you guys uh, in character and when you're just bantering to each other for the most part.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, like all of those people, like I've been extremely fortunate because like all of them are just the most rock solid people. Like I just enjoy each of them. Like, Parker is like I think one of the smartest people I've ever met, and he's just such a sweet, kind guy. Like he always brought Stroop waffles to our recordings, and it's like, ah, and Ryan is he is just the most fun person to hang out with, and he's funny and he's interesting and he has these really cool he has these really cool conversations about movies, and he has like a really fantastic take on things. Chris is just one of the most solid people you'll ever meet, and he's unfailingly nice and kind and always giving in game. Like I feel bad for Chris's character Jorix because he gets dunked on so much, but he's always like good humored about it. Like I think like in the last episode or two, like all the characters have mentioned that they have a file on Chris or on Jorix, because he's just a quote unquote weird guy, right?
Oh,
And and it's just and like it led to one of my favorite exchanges between the two of them, which is where Gus just goes like, Jorix, what have you been reading lately? And then Jorix just goes, "Oh, you have to be a little bit more specific, Gus." And then Gus just goes, "No, you be more specific."
oh,
And then of
oh.
course there's Sadie, who's been my best friend for like 5 years, and she is just, she is a source of consistent delight in my life, right? So yeah, it's just I would hang out with these people even if we didn't do a show. Now, whether they would hang out with me, that's a different question. But thankfully, I have a show.
Oh, you know, I think I've been listening to your guys' show too much because I heard that conversation and those guys' voices.
Oh, good.
Uh,
That was just such a fantastic scene, and I love Gus's voice. Just like always a yell. It's almost always a yell.
oh, oh, wow. But no, yeah, you guys have like it's a fun show to say the least. Because I can spout a lot about it, but anyone listening, go check them out. It's really fun. So let's talk a little bit more about you, Elaine.
Okay.
So, one of the few things I want to touch on is you said you just mentioned that you've done stand up. For how long have you been doing that?
Oh goodness. I've been doing it for I think now 8 years.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah, it's a good chunk of time. So, what got you interested in pursuing this?
Well, I started. I think I'm still primarily a writer, and the thing about writing, especially if you want to, get into literary journals or have an agent or anything like that, is you have to spend an inordinate amount of time like writing something, which is a very time consuming and like maddening process in a lot of ways, because you have like I think you mentioned on your last episode where you're just like, you're a good storyteller around the campfire, but then there's this weird disconnect like when you get in front of the computer and you're like, okay, here's a story, and then you have that blank page and then you write and you're like, why is I can talk about this, why can't I write it, right?
Oh God, yes.
So, I'd always written like, starting when I was 13 and even before that. And you write this thing out and you spend like 2 months on it, and then you edit it, and that takes another like 3 weeks, and then you send it out for submissions. And then you wait another 2.5 to 5 months for someone to say like, "Hey, thanks for writing this, but it's not for our journal." You're like, "Ah, cool." That's like an 8 month turnaround, right? So I figured if I wanted to be rejected, I wanted to be rejected immediately. So that's why I started doing stand up. I was like, I can still write, but at least I will immediately know if people like it or don't like it. So that's what that was the initial push towards it. And plus, I've always loved stand up.
Okay, interesting. I that's interesting to kind of view it that way, because because I only know two writers, and sometimes people forget that it takes a reasonable good amount of time to put into your work, because you're putting everything into it at that point, and then there's that process of waiting for to know like will it get published or not, and a lot of people forget that, and that not knowing if you'll get it or not. It's kind of that moment where you're getting that job interview, and at that point, even when getting a job during a job interview, you still get rejected or not at that point too, or you move on to the
Mm.
next phase. So waiting an excess amount of time can really put a lot of strain in your mentality. But then when you're talking about stand up and yeah, you're up there, like you're just there, all eyes on you, and you can feel the crowd on you, and it's one of those few interesting moments because myself, I wouldn't say I have stage fright, but I get awkward when too many eyes aren't on me. Though I host a lot of parties, which is weird.
Oh.
um, but it's it's that moment when you feel that like no one wants to get rejected, like you want to
Right.
succeed, but
Right.
like it's just I think it's more of that time difference where you can get like initially rejected compared to like just that long rejection that might come can be frustrating.
Yeah, I think uncertainty is really a difficult thing, right? Like it's the Tom Petty song, "Waiting is the hardest part," right? Because like I think when you have this moment where you are where the your fate is uncertain, to put it melodramatically, um, you start to like daydream, like, oh my God, what if I do get into the Paris Review? Like, will like a agent see it, and then like will they contact me? Oh my God! And then you start to like build this life. You start to build like the best case scenario life. And then like the Paris Review is like no, and you're like, ah, damn it, so like this imaginary life that you played out for yourself.
Oh, I call that the winning the lottery thoughts.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that moment. Anyone listening, everyone has this thought. I'm winning the lottery. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that for my family and friends. All that runs through your mind. So I
You're
think that's.
absolutely right.
Uh, but yeah, it's. I think you put it the best way. That uncertainty. I think that's one thing that all people like will always fall prey to for the most part.
Yeah, and so like that's the beautiful thing about stand up, or even improv or sketch shows or anything where you do it live, right? Which is like you can just immediately get feedback, which is just like, we don't like this, or hey, we think you're funny, and you're just like, ah, at least this thing. And that's another beautiful thing about stand up, is just like, you're walking around and then you're like, huh, that's an interesting idea. And then you go to an open mic and you wait 4 hours, and then you say the line or you say the joke that you had, and then like people laugh. You're like, oh, sweet. Okay. And then you have like another little bit of arsenal. So you can like directly transmit your thought, as long as you're willing to, wait 4 hours for 3 minutes, right? Um, but yeah, I think that's why I got started in stand up, is, I just wanted to, especially in any creative thing, right?
Okay. So here's my next question. Are there any stand-up artists out there that you kind of, I think the only way I can say it is like look up to or enjoy listening to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think Brian Regan is one of the most consistently funny people I've ever seen. And he has a style that's completely different from me. But I would never be able to do what Brian Regan does, because he's willing to put on like goofy voices, and he's willing to play like a very dumb character, but like dumb in a very clever way, right? And he's clean, and he just is so good. I also love Mike Birbiglia, because Mike Birbiglia is a very much a storyteller comic, and he has this very patient delivery of his jokes, where he will like slowly build up all the component pieces of his set, and then he'll bring it together in this really marvelous way. And also I just like Sarah Silverman, because I think she's funny as hell, and and also she and I are a little bit interlinked in a way.
Do tell.
Not, it's not at it's not at all personal, but so there was this thing called, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's called the Comedians of Comedy. It was a live show that was done kind of in response to uh, the kings of comedy and the queens of comedy. There was like this big, royal thing of comedy, right? And so there were a bunch of alt comics that did their thing called Comedians of Comedy, right? And so I loved it because it had Patton Oswalt, Zach Galifianakis, Brian Posehn, Sarah Silverman, et al. Right, et al. In that scene. And they came to LA where I was living at the time, and my friend and I went to go see it and had a great time. And 3 months later, I'm at the Arco filling up my gas tank, and then all of a sudden my friend calls me up, and he goes, "Oh my God, El, you were on TV, buddy." I was like, "Really? Was it awesome?" And he goes, "You'll see. Watch the Comedians of Comedy." I was like, okay. And so I go to watch the Comedians of Comedy. I catch a rerun of it, and you know, um, Sarah Silverman's is the next comedian, and she comes on stage, and her very first joke is, "Boy, there sure are a lot of dorks in the audience." Cut to my face. And Jesus, I looked so happy that Sarah like recognized me. Like it seemed like she saw me as who I was for the first time in my life. Now, here's the thing, Jesus. I did go to the show, but the show that I went to, Sarah Silverman was not there. She was on the show the other night. So what that means is that when they were cutting the show together, they were like, "Sarah's got this great joke about dorks. Who's the biggest dork in both audiences?" And then they just decided that I was. So I will always feel connected to Sarah Silverman.
That is amazing. Oh wow! Props to whoever was editing that episode.
Yeah, they were probably like, "He looks like he plays D&D." You know?
Oh wow! Okay, wow. But wow, that is intense. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those moments.
Yeah, it's certainly. I might try to claim that as an IMDb credit.
Oh wow. But yeah, it looks like I'm trying to think here. So okay, here's my next question then. You're a very what's the best way to say it? I'm gonna say creative person. That's the best way to put it. No, that's the best way I can think of it right now. Honestly, like
well, it's the most flattering.
There you go. Let's go with that. No. So what got you started into basically role playing / D&D?
You know, that's interesting. So I don't know. Have you ever heard of the author Junot Diaz?
The name does not. I don't recognize the name off the top of my head.
So he did this really great book, The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, right? I was really taken in by it. And he focuses on a Dominican, I believe it's Dominican. I haven't read the book in a couple of years. A Dominican kid's, I guess, like teenager. He's like in college, so late teens. A Dominican teenager who's just so far afield from the rest of his family, and he's just like this really imaginative kid, right? He's just this really imaginative guy. And I was reading some interviews, and I think I actually listened to KCRW's Bookworm with Michael Silverblatt, and he was talking about how his initial start into storytelling was actually through D&D, right? Because that's what these role-playing games are, right? They are a way for you to tell stories together, right? In a way that I guess it allows you to be imaginative it allows like the guy who's like John from accounting. It allows him to like be imaginative in a world in a life that doesn't really give him a lot of opportunities for that, and he gets to have fun, and he's around a bunch of other weirdos who also like doing the thing, right? Like imagining being like a female high elf or whatever, right? And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Another way to tell a story. That's really cool. And I liked as somebody who's written a lot, a lot of it has been just me writing alone. So it's always just been my thoughts, right? And like I'll incorporate different ideas or different experiences in my life, but I have to be the one that writes it all, right? And so I liked the idea of being able to tell a story and like giving ownership of the story to other people and seeing how they make the world, right? How they take my framework and how they carve out their niches, right? Like once again, Chris is amazing, or Jorix is amazing at this because the whole seed of our campaign was started off of something that he made up for his character, right? Which is like the moonless night. And I was like, that's really intriguing. What would happen on the moonless night? Why would that happen, right? And so like I think that's what got me into it, which is I like telling stories. And I like mispronouncing it or pronouncing it strangely as not story, but story. And I just really enjoyed the aspect of building a framework and seeing how people filled out that framework. Oh, yeah, like Sadie, Okot, she has a very intimate tie to the overall main villain of this piece. And that was completely her. Like she just wanted to be like somebody who never really who had a difficult childhood and never really felt loved by a mother, right? And then she came up with that, and I was like, well, I have the perfect character for you. Um, and I just like, and would I have thought about that? I don't think so, not particularly, but she did, and I love these people like adding their spin to it, you know. Like there was no wrestling in Galea before Gus and Burke. Like they were just like, we want to be wrestle boys. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, what do you call yourself? We live in mountains, so mountain boys. I was like, all right, you guys are the mountain boys and you do back mountain wrestling, Like, and it's just like, it makes the world feel better. It makes it feel more alive because these people are actually living in it, right?
And that, I think that's the best way to put it. They're living in the world, and it really you can really tell it really shows after listening to it, and it goes for any of these role playing shows that I listen to. It takes a group to really like emphasize the lives and the worlds that you revolve in, and you
Hmm.
guys do a really fantastic job. I don't know. It's fun. It's one of the reasons like I said, I want to do something like that is to create a story in a group. Uh, but yeah. So do you have any like outside the podcast? Are there any fun stories of past games that you not like jammed or as a character?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, um, let's see. So I have this group. It's the Thursday group, and it's been the one that I've been running for the longest, right? And these guys, we all met on Reddit, and that's actually where Jorix came from, or Chris. And so I have a character, and he's kind of one of my favorite characters. And his name is Farstand, right? He has a voice like he's like a weird little adventurer gnome who's like maybe a god. And like I had like my note for him was just like drunken gnome quickly exits, right? Like he was a nobody character. And then like he was in the same bar as the character as the players, and then he just like loudly speaks his mind because that's what Farstan does. And then the barbarian of the group says, I got to get this guy to shut up, but I can't kill him. I'm gonna drink him under the table, you know. And so this barbarian who has an enormous constitution because he's a dwarf on top of everything, and he's a bear totem barbarian, and this little gnome, we roll off to see like if Farsan gets drunk, who can drink more, right? And it just so happened with the dice that day, I rolled two natural 20s. So the the totem barbarian dwarf loses a drinking contest to a gnome who like maybe weighs 65 pounds, right? And so and so the player Jared, he's marvelous. He just goes, well, he's a god. That's the only explanation. And like his character never talked about losing the thing to the dwarf, but he just said that this little gnome couldn't beat this dwarven barbarian unless he was a god. And so then the Clayton and Chris also start adding to that. So like so basically I'm telling you like this is how they made a god. A god was created because somebody lost a drinking contest. And I just love that. I just love that imagery, or just the origin of this character becoming a god is because like one guy couldn't accept that he lost a drinking contest. And also they completely destroyed a world by creating a black hole. It's like that's another fun story with those guys.
That's a good sign. The whole world was created, but I'll drink this guy. That's more important. That's more important.
Right, exactly.
I love hearing things like that. Those are the memories that live with you. That these things bring out, and I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like they're it's like I think that's what makes like role playing games and like I think D&D so fun is that there's a various number of factors that go into like any moment, right? Like you have a drinking contest, and like as everybody knows, like if you're as everybody knows, you can surmise that if you're a barbarian and you are a totem and you're just a naturally hardy race or whatever, like you should beat something that has none of those qualities. However, because the dice are a factor, there's just this, I think like the dice are just like a random, like they are just like a writer's prompt, right? Where you just roll it and you're like, well, okay. Like that was one of my favorite things with WYD was like, I think Jorx was trying to shoot the ground because there were vines growing. And he goes, well, should the ground make a what do you call it? Should the ground make oh crap, I'm forgetting the name of it. Dexterity check. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, right? It's the ground. The ground doesn't really move. And then Sadie goes like, well, why don't you just roll it and see what the hell happens? I was like, yeah, why not? And then I rolled it, and then I got a natural 20. I was like, well, I guess today the ground has some moves. It dodges your firebolt. Jorix, and he's just like, why did I even ask if the ground should dodge? But it's just like those moments where you're like, I think like the dice just add the ability to like create delight because it's just like that's unexpected, right?
Oh, that is amazing. Oh, so crazy. So tell me a little bit more about you, Elliott. What else entails Elliott Rose?
Well, I have long hair, and because I have long hair, I play the guitar like every person with long hair must do, I think.
I second that. I am currently looking at my guitar sitting there.
Yeah, I have my two to the right of me because like I can't be away from them for too long, or else I get the shakes. I've written, I've gotten, it's been a very interesting 34 years. It's been a lot of ups and downs, and I've been thinking about right, like what I think is really cool about podcasting, right, is like it gives you this chance for people to connect, right? Like you and I are doing this are having this conversation, and like we wouldn't know each other. Like I wouldn't know you unless you were on Raul's show, which me and Sadie also were on, right?
Yeah, and I heard you guys. Actually, I was gonna try to reach out around the first time you guys showed up on his show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But at that point, I wasn't like ready to like reach out. I was more doing the random posts, and then the second time you guys showed up, I was like, I gotta talk to these guys because at that point I've been listening to your guys' show for the most part, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about them. Like I listened to you guys, but I was like, I should really talk to them, like talk to them. Like I've been enjoying their show so long, like I forgot. I want to talk to you. Then when you reached out for me, yeah, it's shout out to Raul, man. That guy, he's a fun guy to talk with.
Yeah, Raul is a great conversationalist. He he's so interesting, and he's a good listener, and he's like willing to play, right? He's always sharp, and because like you can probably tell, Sadie and I have a very like specific brand of humor when we're together, which is like we're very quick, and Sadie is so fucking funny. Um, and she gives me the business whenever she can, and she's just she's unusually quick is what I'm trying to say, and like I'm like you know. And Raul was actually able to keep up because we've done shows where the host isn't as open to improvisation or just constant quipping as Raul is, but he's able to play along and add to it, and it's so fun. So big shout out to Raul. But like the thing about podcasting that I really enjoy is like, there is like this. I think Ira Glass said it right. Like radio is very intimate, right? Because it's literally people talking in your ear. You have to put on a headphone or whatever, and we are right in your ear right now. And so I really like that, and like having this conversation with you, like it is fun to hear like the things that I've learned about you by listening to your show, right? Like because I know some of those struggles, like I do know about like writing, and like why is it that when I write something, it isn't how it is in my head, right? Like I can say it, but I can't write it. Like I know that feeling so well, right? And so you have this, I think it's like it naturally helps you build a community because I don't think like radio was really serving this, I think, desire that people had, which is just to like get closer to people or feel closer to people. You know what I mean?
Actually, no, I think that's a good way to put it because, like, like, I mentioned it multiple times, but like the reason I do this show is kind of, I kind of like imitated Raul from that point, but, not only to be able to promote people and whatever projects they have or are working on, but then being able to kind of transition from the project, but then getting to know the individual. So my audience and probably their audience on top of that will get to learn a little bit more about them. And I've always found that interesting when listening to a lot of people. Is like yes, I want to like in any interviews, like you want to know about that said individual a little bit more deeply than you probably would have known. Kind of the best way to put it for anyone out there is like when you're looking at more untraditional interviews with celebrities and stuff like that. Like you know their roles in movies and TV shows, but when you get them in this weird setting and they start talking, you get to shine a new light to them. There you go. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, you're right because like there isn't like a hard break. Like okay, so on this radio interview, you have a tenor because that's what you're booked for by the agent. So you got to hit your talking points because of course we have to promote the show. And then if the host is or the interviewer is especially excellent in that setting, like they can maybe pull out a couple of personal things from the star. But when you get into something like podcast where it's like, hey, we don't really have a time limit, right? We can add one, but overall, like this is just a looser sort of format. It doesn't need to fit into like a 30-minute chunk, or it doesn't need to be a 10-minute segment in a 2-hour show, right? The segment is the show, right? So you allow people to just kind of show more of their personality because they have more room to show that personality, right? Especially like with good hosts like you and Raul, like asking interesting questions or like playing your games at the end where it's like, oh, that's fun to see like how people like have this thing that they don't normally get the chance to do in regular life, and how do they adapt to it? Like I find that so compelling, I think.
Thank you. I gotta sell that part of the show a little bit more. That's I've been told that multiple times. I gotta sell that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you do a really good job with it. It is really fun to see these people whom you've listened to for like an hour and a half, and then just to like see them in this like new this new game where they're like, okay, I got to think on my feet right now. It's just like fun to see like a different side, right?
Exactly. And everyone, get ready for this one. This is gonna be this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. But no, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but no, thank you. I appreciate that. I like getting some like feedback also from people who, for the most part, they get a chance to like listen to see what they're getting themselves into. Uh, and it gives you an idea like what people like are like listening to, and like, okay, yes, I want to be a part of this, and uh, what some of the positives that are working, and I can polish up a little bit, and then so yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, huh, where are we at? Okay, we're good on time so far. Wait, what? Yeah, actually, yeah, we're good on time. Is there actually there's something interesting I wanted to ask you, since
Mhm.
how we're about to hit we're actually we just hit the summer blockbusters in films. How well are your how are you a big moviegoer? I don't know why that took forever to say.
Oh, no worries. Am I a big movie goer? Not particularly. I probably speaking to, I guess, my inner NPR. Like I'm kind of I like watching. I guess you would say like more indie dramas.
Ooh,
And like
okay.
I have like I just got the Criterion channel, so I'm going through a backlog of these great films that I have never seen, right? But what's the last movie I went to? Oh, Won't You Be My Neighbor with the documentary on Mr. Rogers. That was the last one I went to.
Oh, that was good. I loved it.
Wasn't it? Oh
Yes.
my God. Like I so love that man.
That oh I could talk so much. That when because that man has been in the lives of so many people. Like,
Hmm.
and that documentary did such a wonderful job, like showcasing some of his works and everything. It honestly, like, I had a tear. I had to. It's
Oh, yeah, totally. Like there's like it was in the commercials, but it sticks with me is like there was that like darling little girl, right? And Mr. Rogers was having, he was like having I think he not a show, but he was doing a live event, right? And he's sitting in front of the kids, and well, this darling little girl comes up to the front of the stage, and she goes, "Mr. Rogers, I want to tell you something." And he goes, "Oh, what is it, dear?" And she goes, "I like you." And I was just like, I got so verklempt, right? And he goes, "Oh, I like you too." And it's just like, if you ever want to read about Mr. Rogers, there's this great Esquire article called "Can You Say Hero?" And it is so touching because they describe, the journalist, and I'm forgetting his name, unfortunately. That's a mistake on my part. He talks about he interviews, or he has a bunch of stories of people who what Mr. Rogers means to a lot of people, or meant to a lot of people. Like, he would like be in New York Times, or he would be in Times Square, and like people would just like rush to him to just like, you know, be around him, and like people would say like, you raised me, you know, and I think he was a miraculous person.
he was one of a kind, and
Yeah.
I, and his works, his show in particular, was it's interesting because of the time it came
Hmm.
out,
Hmm.
and trying to think about like I'm honestly trying to think about it right now, and I'm wondering if something like that would work in this day and age. And not that it wouldn't. It just we're just living in different times where everyone just has this kind of what's the best way to put it? Like uh, not the best way, but it's like very short attention span, and everyone just wants the next best thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, like yeah, that's a good point. I think I'm not sure if TV is I'm not sure if TV would be the right medium for him now. Um, I could see, of course, considering it's a child show, but I could see like if he was able to, I feel like a podcast with because he was very intimate into your life, right? Like he would go, the show was him like looking directly at the camera, looking at you and speaking in a very deliberate, quiet tone, and a very patient tone, right? Um, and so like when he's like it's so weird. Like I'll go on YouTube and I'll like just look up Mr. Rogers stuff because I love the man. And like it's this weird thing. Like I've never really felt this with any other like media personality. But like when he says, "I like you just the way you are," like I really believe him. You know what I mean? Like I believe that if he were to meet me, he would have liked me without judgment. You know?
yeah, I don't know. Those like those those words those words are not those. That's a very strong statement, and anyone anyone wants to just hear those from any other individual. And you're right. It's uh I don't know. Those like like you yourself have this like very like honestly your voice is really good, so hearing it from you just kind of like it's a reminder, and it hits. I'm gonna use that as the clip for the intro because I loved it.
Oh,
um
thank you.
but yeah, it's something everyone in wants to hear in their life, is that they want to be liked. Shoot, why can't I think of the word? I'm trying to think.
They want to be appreciated. They want to be
Yes.
accepted.
Yes. Somewhere there's a word in my head and it just won't come out. But yes, that they just want to be that by another
Appre
individual.
appreciated.
Yeah. So when someone says it in that tone, like that, kind of in that like personal level, because you're right, he's staring at you, and it's it's kind of weird, like doing it that way. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know why it's frazzling in my head right now, because like for the most part, when I was looking into like media and the way things are filmed, like it, it's always been that nod where actors aren't supposed to like look straight into the camera. It's always action and all that. But he had such a way just looking into you and saying those words. Those are, like I said, those that is a strong statement that everyone wants to hear. And sitting every day watching it, like it just means a lot to a lot of people. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that's just part of it, right? It's like you just want to feel like I don't know if validated is the right word, but like that you that you that your existence has meaning to other people, right? Um, and you and there was just seeing him just like looking at you and speaking in that tone, and like he lived, that was just who he was, right? And just hearing that consistently, just hammering home this message, that you have value, you are important. You have the reason that you are important is because you are you, and there is nobody else like you, right? It's just, I think it's a thing that I think you're right. I think people don't hear it enough. I think people have a lot of difficulties. Um,
yeah, and it shows. It shows a lot, and a
yeah.
lot this day, mostly with social media and everything, you can really it showcased a lot of the negativity when it comes to like not don't want to bring it down, but it shows a lot with uh, the way people like cyberbully, and then that leads to more like insidious deeds and things like that, and it just it hurts. It hurts to think about, but it happens, and it's sometimes all it takes is that moment of recognition. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, like there was that story about Sarah Silverman, right, where a troll attacked her on Twitter, right, as trolls tend to do. And instead of like responding with like anger or like putting him on blast or what have you, she investigated him a little bit and she saw that he was that he had a GoFundMe page for intractable pain in his back, right? And so what she did was, she used her platform to call attention to the fact that he was in pain and struggling. And then I think she donated either the full amount or a significant portion of the amount that he needed for the treatment that he was asking for, right? And so they did an interview with him after this, and it really, this thing that she did really affected him, because he was, what's the famous thing? Hurt people, right? And so if I feel crummy, I want other people to feel crummy too. I want everyone to feel as bad as I do, right? And I think you're right about that. I think you're right that people are, for some reason in this society right now, and perhaps this has always been the way it is, people are hurt and they just are lashing out because they don't know how to deal with that, right? And it sucks to hurt, right? Like I've had back pain and I've had my various forms of pain. And it's really hard to be like, well, the world still has a smile, It's like, no, I'm not smiling, so I don't want anybody else to do it, right? But to feel as if somebody sees you and acknowledges you and cares for you, I don't know. I think that can be life-changing in a lot of ways.
I can't agree with you more on that. That's a whew, we hit something hard. oh that's that's all. Well, let's let's kind of end this portion of the show there, because that's a great way to put it. We want everyone to have their moment. Like, we want to let people know that you are appreciated. And
yeah, and I think that's what I'm trying to do with that new show that I'm setting to launch. Right, it's called Works of Love, and it will debut May 22nd.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
I stole the title from a Danish philosopher because of course, but it's an audio drama about love, the possession of and loss of it. So,
okay. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Like I've been listening to a lot of audio dramas, so
Oh, what do
okay.
you like?
So let's see here. Let me just quickly pick up. Come on, phone. Open. So I originally started with like horror stories. So I was
Oh,
listening.
I love the Magnus Archives.
Okay, I'll look that up. Originally I started with the No Sleep podcast,
Oh.
uh, and kind of delved into their like shenanigans for like the last 8 seasons. Then I kind of went into like the sci-fi realm. Kind of went with like Archive 81. And then into what is it? The Black Tapes.
Oh, that was really good. I felt like the second season was kind of a drop off, but it was very good. I really enjoyed the first season enormously.
Okay. I'm currently working on this space one called Mission to Six.
Oh, nice. I haven't
Uh,
heard that one.
it's a I like it. I highly recommend it. It's very impromptu, and they have a lot of guests come in to
Hmm.
do different spots. So every episode has a different guest, so it just adds a new flavor to the group.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, like audio drama has been like my. So I kind of listen between. When it comes to my repertoire of shows I listen to, there's like probably only three shows where I get like this group dynamic news kind of style,
Hmm.
and then it's a lot more just like stories, from audio dramas to like the D&D stuff, like stories. I like audio books for the most part. Yet for some reason I haven't been able to go and actually listen to audiobooks. I don't know why. I've done it
Oh, really?
before,
Hmm.
and I just like for some reason like I have more podcasts to listen to before drop into a book. Um, but yeah, it's not like I don't want to. It's just like one, I should just try to find a book that I want to listen to, and then to just enjoy it. So
But yeah, I mean, like audio dramas are doing a really. I feel like audio dramas are really coming into a really cool space right now. And yeah, you're right. Like, what is the quote? I believe it's "We tell ourselves stories in order to live," and I think that's from Joan Didion. Um, I think like yeah, it's natural that we enjoy stories as much as we do, right? Because like what's the story of your life? You have these events that happen to you, and you put a narrative on it, and that's your life. Your life is a story that you are living, and you know, hopefully years from now, or decades from now, or generations from now. That's what I should have said. People will remember it, and people will tell it. You know.
exactly, if they don't, it's on the internet on this podcast forever.
Oh, you're a clever one.
Oh, I got ahead of everyone.
Hell yeah, you did.
Oh, but yeah, uh, like I said, it's another form of that like recognition we all strive for, and yeah. So let's get into some fun parts of the show, and I'm looking forward to your new project. That should be
Oh,
fun.
oh, thanks. Yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, it's the website's currently being built, but it should be built by today is the 8th, so probably the 13th. It's at wolpod.com and on Twitter at wolpod if they
Okay,
want to see updates.
sweet. All right. So before we get started with the finale, I'm gonna have a few words from my friends here.
This podcast brought to you by OuchThatHurts.com. Visit Ouch That Hurts for music, gaming, reviews, editorials, podcasts, and more. Ouch That Hurts, HERTZ.com.
Come hang out and chat with everyone on our Discord channel. Be a part of our community.
And we're back. So, in this part of the show, I ask my guests to regale us with a tale of one of the weirdest, strangest, most convoluted thing that has ever happened, you have ever done, or you've ever encountered.
Okay. Most convoluted thing that's ever happened to me, encountered, or okay. Um, okay, yeah, I got it. So, doing stand up, right? And I've headlined a couple of places, and I don't know if you know anything about the political breakdown of Western Washington versus Eastern Washington. I can't imagine that you would because I didn't know about it when I was living in California, right? I knew California, but that's about it. And so like I've always found like my sense of humor does particularly well in places where there's a high NPR listenership. Like, I feel like I'm part and parcel with NPR. However, I got a headlining gig in the Tri-Cities, which is in Eastern Washington, right? And it's a lovely area. I'm sure. I had a comped room at the local Motel 6 where, as I was getting ready for the show, I heard a loud on my door, and I open it up, and there is this man, and he is a biker, and he is very Dog the Bounty Hunter looking. And he goes, chainsaw? I was like, Elliott? No, I'm Elliott. He goes, oh, do you know where Chainsaw is? I was like, I have no idea, my man. And then all of a sudden, from the door next to me, the door opens and I see this bald biker. And he goes, Road Dog? He goes, Chainsaw. He's like, come on in, man. I was like, all right. And Chainsaw and Road Dog go into Chainsaw's room, which is right adjacent to mine, or right next to mine. As I'm sitting there, like, doing my preparations for my show, I hear them talk loudly, and then all of a sudden I hear, I was like, oh, I get what's happening. You guys are doing, you guys are doing some cocaine. That's cool. Well, time to put on a show for people. And so I get to the venue, and I'm co-headlining. And I'm co-headlining with this very old man, like maybe in his late 60s, right? And he goes by the name Uncle Jer. I'm like, oh, I dislike this already, right? And Uncle Jer, Uncle Jer asked me if it's okay if he goes first because he wants to get home and go to sleep. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. For a man your age, I totally understand. And now that I'm a 34-year-old man, I'm like, I kind of want to go home and go to sleep early too. And so he's going on stage and he's fucking hitting. He's doing like the greatest hit from the 80s, right? Like he's talking about Reagan, and then he gets like into the newer material about Clinton. And it's very, you can tell that this has been the same act that he's done for years, right? For decades even. And I'm like, oh shit. Because the audience is going crazy for it. Like, they love it. It's like he invented comedy. I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna like my joke about Soren Kierkegaard, But the way that he closes the show, and I've never had this happen before, Jesus. He goes, I'm the only comedian who's ever been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is going. And he pulls out a harmonica. And he goes, would you like to see what got me into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I was like, well, now I'm kind of interested. And so he takes out the harmonica and he begins to play the Star-Spangled Banner using only his right nostril. And that's his closer, and people are fucking, like, they're rending their garments because it's so great that we are patriots and we are enjoying it from a nose harmonica.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I go on stage and I do all the humor that's done well in, the big cities here, and fucking they hate my shit so much. Like, they are just like, boo, where's your nose harmonica? And the way that the MC closed the night, he goes, and that was your headliner, Elliott Rose. He really knows how to be calm in the eye of a storm.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yep.
Wow. What a start to your day to the ending.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting back to the hotel room and asking Bonesaw and or Chainsaw and Bone Dog if they had some extra blow.
Oh, I need to pick me up after that one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is wild. Just like honestly, I want to step in your shoes, but I kind of don't want to. Oh, that is crazy that happened to you. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Of course, I think that's the best part. One of the best parts about stand-up is it puts you in these positions where you're like, that would never have happened to me in my regular life, but in my stand-up life, hell yeah, everything's on the table, brother.
Oh my god, and that's another thing when it comes to like those types of things. Like you never like you can feel the crowd, but then you can, depending on where you're queued up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really acting, because you can sometimes feel the audience and like, all right, the crowd's going, but then to have such a good set and then live up to that, wow.
Yeah, with a completely different sense of humor, right? Like it's just like he and I, our sense of humor are like not even kissing cousins. Like it's we're on two very different spectrums, and to see like this crowd was so in favor of like his type, I was like, I'm such a dead man. Like, oh man, I am so not going to win this crowd over. But you go out there for like 40 minutes, and you're like, sweet, it's exactly what I thought it would be.
Oh.
But,
I didn't even know the time limit. Wow.
Yeah, since it was a headlining set, it was a very long set, and you just stand up there for 40 minutes of eating shit. And it's fun because you can talk about it later, but man, it was a bad one.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Like any moment you're like feeling nervous, or like you feel that you already feel it, like it can feel like a lifetime in just like a second. But 40 minutes can feel like an eternity.
Yeah, I've always been fortunate in that, like when I've bombed, like I have this very like you know what? Who cares at this point? Like I'm just gonna try to do this. I'm just gonna try to have fun for me at this point. And so then it just becomes that game. It's like we could have had a thing, audience, but because you guys don't like me, I'm just gonna do a thing now. So, because it's not going to get any worse. It's already been the worst that it could be. So, like now I'm in it for me, right?
There you go. That's a good way to look at it. Honestly, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, of course.
All right, then let's move on to the game show portion of the podcast.
Excellent. Okay.
So,
all right.
You decided to play One of Us. So, listeners, One of Us is an improv game where my guest will try to convince me and you guys to join his organization, group / cult. I gave him the prompts prior to, and he has to come up with some speech, rant, and sell us his group to join us. So whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Okay. Okay. Hello, friends. It's me, Elliott Rose, DM of What's Your Damage, and also narrator and writer of Works of Love, the podcast. And people often ask me, Elliott Rose, they always say my full name. They say, Elliott Rose. They say, Elliott Rose, how do you do it? Often it's me asking that question to myself, but I have an answer, and I'm willing to share it with all of you. Magic. Now, what is magic? We'll get to that. But first off, what does magic allow you? It will allow you to tap into your imagination. It will allow you to make things real that are not currently real. And it will allow you hours and hours and hours of fun. And I'm willing to offer you admittance into this, cult's too strong of a word, I would say lifestyle Yes, lifestyle. So how do you join? You're asking me already. Well, here's how you do it. A, very simple. Give away all your possessions and give them to me. I'll take better care of them than you do. And that's the first step to getting magic, giving everything away to the person who wants it. And second step, kill all firstborn children. Just do it. Hey, don't... Magic isn't for cowards. Kill all the firstborn children and give me everything you have. And what will you get in return? A starter pack of Magic the Gathering, the playing card game. Thank you. I'm Elliott Rose.
All right. All right. This magic you have achieved, it has me interested. So I have a few questions for your group.
Of course.
How do you keep people from leaving your group?
Well, we actually find that when we re-examine their birth certificate, there unfortunately all have been firstborns.
Okay.
So, are you a firstborn?
I will answer that at another day. Tell me about how should I prepare for the end of days?
Well, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to give me all of your possessions. That's number one. That's number one with a bullet. Second thing you want to do is you want to build yourself a bunker, which would be one of your possessions, which you would then give to me. I will then live in the bunker and spread your name. That's
okay.
how you should prepare for the end of days. Allow me to tell your story.
Interesting. I only have a few more questions. Why do people wrongly assume your group is dangerous?
Because there's a lot of slander. You know, people don't understand. It's like the satanic panic of the 1980s when we give as our first gift to you, our soon-to-be cult member, lifestyle member. They see Magic the Gathering, the playing card, and they just wrongly assume that there's some sort of Satanist imagery in it, right? But it's just a Black Lotus. It's a Black Lotus of eternity. You know what I'm saying?
Surprisingly, actually, I do.
God.
Then my final question would be: when you tweet about your group, what are the popular hashtags that go along with it?
The most popular hashtag is hashtag end of all days, hashtag friendship is magic with a K at the very end, and hashtag feeling magical may delete later. You know, we really try to tap into the zeitgeist. You know what I'm saying?
It's very intriguing. So, you know, for anyone listening, like, check them out. Let's find out and see if we will be joining your group.
Don't forget, that's Elliott Rose. I'm only referred to as Elliott Rose. Don't forget that.
Yes, I do apologize that Elliott Rose. All right, that's the end of that. Oh,
that was so much fun. Thank you.
No, thank you. Like improv, that's your thing. It's pretty tricky when it comes to these games. That's why a lot of people don't choose it.
Yeah, but it's so fun.
It is. That's one of the few people who have chosen has just had the best. Like for anyone listening and you're thinking of being a guest, like just because you don't choose it doesn't mean it's not fun. It's just it's not your thing sometimes, but it is something that you got to play around with, and it comes out. It's some interesting things. It comes out with some interesting things, and mostly with the deck of cards I have.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So no, thank you for playing that. That is really fun. All right, so at this point, I let my guests kind of this is where the point where you can tell the people where they can find you, where they can hunt you. Go ahead.
Okay, so if a D&D actual play is interesting to you, which I hope it is, you can find us at WOLpod. Nope, that's the wrong one. Try it again. That's wydpod.com, or on Facebook at WYDcast, and on Twitter at WYDpod. For the audio drama, which is set to debut May 22nd, that's called Works of Love. You can find us on Twitter at WOLpod. I have a naming convention. And online or everything was going to be online, or on our website at wolpod.com. And if you sign up for the newsletter at wolpod.com, you will receive a special bit of audio that nobody else will. So, hope to see you there.
Interesting. All right, then, you guys go check them out. I honestly vouch for him. Like, I enjoyed you guys' first project, or second project, your second project, technically. It's fun. Go ahead and listen, everyone. I'm currently trying to play catch up. And now I'm more interested about your second works after talking with you a little bit more. But yeah, thank you, Elliott, for taking the time to join me and discussing the various topics we have.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed this.
Honestly, I was actually looking forward to it, and it on my own accord, it's my own bad not trying to reach out a little bit more. I should be trying to do that a little bit more. But yeah, I'm glad you reached out, because it would have slipped my mind long ago. But no, thank you. So anyone else, thank you for listening. Remember, you can reach out for me on Twitter and Instagram. All his links will be down below. Same with mine. So, everyone, thanks again for listening. Until next time, see you.
Contact with a test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is Devin Kraft from the Science Faction Podcast with my co-host Stephen Dominguez. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, Devin.
Hey, do you like science?
I love science.
Do you like science fiction?
Oh, science fiction is the best.
Well, I've got the show for you, because you and I talk about science and science fiction on our podcast every week. And you know what else?
What?
We end every episode with a badass Futurama quote.
Oh, I can't wait.
So go to our podcast website, sciencefactionpodcast.com.
I'm going to do that right now.
4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End the test.
Hey everybody, my name is Grant, and I host a podcast called It's Trivial. Now, It's Trivial is a game show in which I pit comedians, musicians, podcasters, and other interesting people against one another, usually in front of a live audience for the sake of public ridicule. Hope you'll check it out. There's something there for everybody. There's stuff for people who like movies, music, history, geography, comic books, and even more. Be sure to give me a follow here on social media on Instagram and Twitter at It's Trivial Show, and check out the entire first season of It's Trivial now in your favorite podcast app. Thanks.